So we are now halfway through the 2024 season, and I think we can all agree that so far it's been a much better season to watch in comparison to 2022 and 2023, especially 2023 in my mind, because really, apart from Singapore, Red Bull dominated the field, and Sergio had a bit of a cameo at the start of the season, but the rest of it really was up to Max to pick up the pieces and win all those races. So yeah, it was a pretty dull season last year, wasn't it? But that being said, I do think 2024 has been a much better season, and it's got potential to still be exciting even further with the development of McLaren and Lando now being a race winner and seemingly getting very close to winning some more races in the very near future. But with that being said, I actually think that 2025 could end up being a legendary season. And today's video, we're going to go through those reasons why. So yeah, if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more F1 content in the near future. So, let's start with the obvious place first. Lando and Max Verstappen's battle. Austria wasn't exactly a great look for either driver. I mean, I'm sure there'll be people in the comments telling me it was Lando's fault or it was Max's fault, depending on which side of the fence they sit on. Personally, for me, I think the earlier parts of the battle, it was maybe Lando being a little bit too rash. And then that sort of the final chapter, as it were, to the battle where Max seemed to edge out Lando to the edge of the track and then cause the punctures, really lands on Max's side of the fence there. But again, it is what it is. They're two young, aggressive drivers. Things like this are going to happen. It's F1. Contacts will happen and crashes will be made. But with that being said, I do think this is a battle that we're only really just seeing the beginning of. I know we've had a few races now of Lando sort of chasing Max and beating him in Miami, but I do still think that this is something we're going to see for at least for the next 18 months, if not potentially into 2026, depending on how obviously each team develops their car. The next part of the equation, of course, is the actual field of competitors themselves. If you take a look at the teams and where we are in 2024, they're probably about as close as they have been to each other as we've really seen all the way throughout these regulations. And I think that's only going to happen more as we get into 2025. I mean, look at the results of what some of the teams over the past couple of years have seen. I mean, Haas, just this past weekend, got a 6th and 8th, which would have been inconceivable last year or the year before with the way their tyres were working. And, you know, Komatsu's came in and managed Haas perfectly, in my opinion, to get that car working as best it can with the limitations, obviously, that team has. And it being a fairly small team, they're really punching above their weight. And I think there's going to be more stories like that as time goes on into 2025. And you've got people like Williams who are, you know, maybe not having the best second season at the moment under Vowles, but they're making great moves off the track to bring in experienced engineering and experience top class level of team members to get them to that next level and continue their ascent up the track. But to go back to that sort of previous point, or the very first point I made in this section, every team is starting to build to a certain point and starting to get to a point with their car where they're probably getting to the peak level of performance. And 2025 shouldn't see much development in terms of a full season development, I don't think. You might see 1 or 2 upgrades there for each team, but I don't think you're going to see a lot of big packages there because of the impending threat that is the 2026 car. So with that being said, with the lack of resources going into 2025, I think the field's going to be much more packed in, and you'll see a lot more backwards and forwards and sways of momentum in terms of each team. I don't think you're necessarily going to have an outright standing candidate to win a race every week. And that brings into memories of, you know, the early 2010s when you had the likes of, with McLaren having Hamilton and Button, and then you had Red Bull with Vettel and Webber, Ferrari with Alonso and Massa, and others all fighting to win races any given week. And it really added to the drama of F1 as a spectacle because you didn't know going in who's going to win. And if you look at the driver lineups going into next year, it could very much well be the same again. And then, speaking of driver lineups, the biggest driver move, of course, which happened in the off-season of 2023 heading into 2024, was Lewis Hamilton going to Ferrari. And all that entails in terms of what that brings to 2025. Head at the start of 2024, Lewis's move to Ferrari made us all look forward to 2025 immediately. It made us dream of what could possibly happen, whether it's Lewis's Ferrari stint being a dream come true or it turning into an absolute nightmare and just being absolute popcorn fuel drama for us all to watch and enjoy. Well, maybe not enjoy for Hamilton fans, but enjoy the drama as a whole and the spectacle. And for me personally, I actually think Hamilton's going to make a good go at Ferrari. Is he going to win a championship? Who knows? That's the main question. It depends on how much Ferrari develop in the off season, and if Ferrari can stop being Ferrari and having a million plans to give their drivers to confuse them, and whether Vasseur can sort of continue to right the ship that he's been trying to mend since he's been in there since the start of 2023. And then if you look from one paddock in Ferrari to another paddock in Red Bull, yes, it's been a little bit quieter recently in the Red Bull drama department, but I don't think we're anywhere near done by today's standards of F1 drama off the grid. I think we're going to see a lot more happen between now and not in just in 2025, but I think we'll see a lot happen in 2024, which could impact on how 2025 operates. It's not just Verstappen we need to be looking at. I think we need to be looking at the fact that Helmut Marko may leave if him and his and Horner's relationship continues to deteriorate, as well as the fact that if Marko goes, it's very likely Verstappen's going to jump ship as well. Whether he ends up somewhere in 2025, that's different to where he is currently, I don't know. But again, I think this drama is going to go from 2024 all the way into 2025. And maybe, just maybe, we might see Max move teams. If that happens, it's obviously a big guess. It's anyone's guess on the table at the moment. I still expect Max to be in Red Bull at 2025, but I still think there could be some monumental changes that are about to happen. And of course, the other Red Bull drama that we need to look at is Sergio Perez's form, because Perez, I can't even begin to describe that man's form at the moment. I mean, I've always rated Perez as a driver, but clearly something has happened in the past year where he has felt like he is on top of the world, getting the odd race win at Red Bull, to struggling to get past Haas in the past race in Austria. I mean, yeah. And they gave him a 2-year contract in the form that he's in. If this was Red Bull of yesteryear, like if this was like cutthroat Red Bull during the Gasly, Kvyat, and Albon years, there is no way Perez survives that. And yes, maybe their hands are tied a little bit with the situation with Daniel Ricciardo at the time, but I think Ricciardo is starting to show that consistent form a little bit more. I think he's still got a bit of a way to go to get to that point, but I still think he's starting to show that a little bit now. Obviously, time will tell if he continues to hit that point streak. But the Red Bull drama isn't going anywhere, and I think that only is going to feed into the 2025 drama that we're going to see. And that sort of feeds into my next point, really, where if you take a look at each team, more so than I think in most seasons recently, I think most teams are going in with a big story or a big development issue that they have going into next season. So just taking a look at some of the teams right now, I mean, I've got a list of a few of them in front of me. You've got Williams and their continued development under James Vowles and signing Alex Albon. Does that continue? Is there a bit of a hindrance with them getting ready for 2026? Who knows, but we'll wait and see. Can Haas continue this development that they've obviously seen on the engineering side? Will Alpine recover from this pitfall that they found themselves in? The past couple of races have shown that they can pick up points now, but are they going to be able to develop that in the future? Audi's takeover, what does that look like? Are they going to be officially Audi from next year? Is it really going to be their outfit from next year properly? Or are we going to have to wait a little bit longer? And how does that affect the team as well as sort of their development going into 2025? Of course, I've touched on Ferrari and Red Bull already. Mercedes, they're going to be under pretty much a new era in terms of driver lineup because it's going to be George and an unknown candidate. Most likely it's going to be Kimi Antonelli. We'll have to wait and see if that is the case. But if it's not, who gets that second seat? Will it be someone that can match up to George? Can George lead that team properly? He's shown he can do it at Williams, but Mercedes is another kettle of fish. And that just rolls into that 2025 cake that we're about to all eat and hopefully enjoy in next year. And then, of course, you've got McLaren, is it their time to step up and maybe take a championship? Is it Lando's time to fight Max for a full season? Aston Martin, did they stop their seeming decline that they've had over this year, and can they improve in 2025 as well? I just think up and down the grid, there is so much to get our teeth into and enjoy about F1 and see how things develop. And I just think 2025 has the makings for a legendary season. I think 2021 is probably one of the greatest seasons we've seen in F1, simply for the fact that we had Max and Lewis battling it out week in, week out. And of course, there was the Red Bull Mercedes battle for the Constructors' Championship as well. But next year, even if a few of those things that I've just mentioned tick off and hit the ground running, I think we could be in for some real revolutionary shape-shifting times at Formula One that we haven't seen for a very long time. So let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think 2025 has the makings of being a defining season in F1's chapter, or book, or story, or whatever you want to call it? Let me know in the comments. And as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one.